The galaxy was vast, a sprawling expanse of stars, planets, and civilizations. Yet, amidst the grandeur of the cosmos, there were stories of abandonment, cruelty, and survival. This is one such story, a tale of an alien girl left to die and the human who saved her. The planet was desolate, a barren wasteland of jagged rocks and swirling dust storms. Its atmosphere was thin, barely breathable, and its sun was a distant, cold orb that provided little warmth. This was Zorath, a forgotten world on the edge of the Andromeda galaxy. It was here that the alien girl lay, wounded and abandoned, her once vibrant skin now pale and dull, her large, luminous eyes clouded with pain. She was a Xelarian, a species known for their empathic abilities and ethereal beauty. Her name was Lyra, and she had been cast aside by her own kind. The Xelarians were a peaceful race, but they had strict laws. Lyra had been born with a rare genetic mutation, a defect that made her emotions uncontrollable, her empathic powers too volatile. To her people, she was a danger, a threat to their harmony. And so, they had left her on Zorath to perish, believing it was the only way to protect their society. Lyra curled up against a rock, her slender body trembling. Her wounds were deep, both physical and emotional. She could feel the life draining from her, the cold seeping into her bones. She closed her eyes, ready to accept her fate. But then, she heard it, a faint hum, growing louder and louder. It was a sound she had never heard before, yet it filled her with a strange sense of hope. The hum came from a small spacecraft, its hull battered and scorched from countless journeys through the stars. Inside the ship was Captain Elias Grant, a human explorer and scavenger. Elias had been traveling the galaxy for years, searching for rare artifacts and forgotten treasures. He had heard rumors of Zorath, a planet said to hold ancient relics of a long-lost civilization. But what he found was far more valuable. As Elias stepped onto the planet's surface, his boots crunching against the rocky ground, he scanned the horizon with his visor. The readings were faint, but there was something, a flicker of life. He followed the signal, his heart pounding with curiosity. And then he saw her. Lyra was a sight to behold, even in her weakened state. Her skin shimmered faintly, like starlight, and her long, silver hair cascaded around her like a waterfall. But what struck Elias most were her eyes, deep, soulful, and filled with a pain that mirrored his own. "Hey," Elias said softly, kneeling beside her. "Can you hear me?" Lyra's eyes fluttered open, and she stared at him in confusion. She had never seen a human before. His presence was overwhelming, his emotions raw and unfiltered. But there was something else, a kindness, a warmth that she had never felt before. Who are you?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "My name's Elias," he replied. "I'm here to help you." Elias carried Lyra back to his ship, his mind racing with questions. Who was she? What had happened to her? And why had she been left to die? He didn't have the answers, but he knew one thing, he couldn't leave her behind. As the ship's medical pod worked to heal Lyra's wounds, Elias sat beside her, watching her closely. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, her presence both calming and unsettling. When she finally awoke, she looked at him with gratitude and curiosity. "Why did you save me?" she asked. Elias shrugged. "I couldn't just leave you there. It didn't feel right." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "My own people abandoned me. They said I was broken." "You're not broken," Elias said firmly. "You're different, and that's not a bad thing. Trust me, I know what it's like to feel like an outcast." Over the next few days, Elias and Lyra grew closer. She told him about her life, her struggles, and her dreams. He shared his own story, of a man who had lost everything and found solace in the stars. Together, they found a connection that transcended species and galaxies. But their peace was short-lived. The Xelarians had been watching, and they were not pleased. They saw Lyra's survival as a threat, defiance of their laws. A fleet of Xelarian ships descended upon Zorath, their weapons trained on Elias's small vessel. "You have something that belongs to us," a voice boomed over the comms. "Return the defective one, or face the consequences." Elias clenched his fists, his jaw tight with anger. "She's not defective," he snapped. "And she's not yours to take." Lyra placed a hand on his arm, her touch calming his rage. "Elias, you don't have to do this. I don't want you to get hurt because of me." "I'm not letting them take you," he said firmly. "Not again." The battle was fierce, but Elias was determined. He used every trick in his arsenal, dodging and weaving through the Xelarian ships. But he was outnumbered, and it was only a matter of time before they overwhelmed him. Just as all hope seemed lost, something extraordinary happened. Lyra stepped forward, her body glowing with a radiant light. Her empathic powers, once uncontrollable, now surged with purpose. She reached out with her mind, connecting with the Xelarians on a deep, emotional level. "Please," she said, her voice echoing through their thoughts. "I am not a threat. I just want to live." The Xelarians hesitated, their weapons lowering. They had never felt such raw, unfiltered emotion before. It was overwhelming, but it was also beautiful. For the first time, they saw Lyra not as a defect, but as a being of immense power and potential. In the end, the Xelarians left, their ships disappearing into the stars. Lyra and Elias were alone once more, but this time, they were free. As they stood on the ship's observation deck, watching the stars streak by, Lyra turned to Elias with a smile. "Thank you," she said. "For saving me. For believing in me." Elias smiled back, his heart full. "You saved me too, Lyra. In more ways than you know." And so, the alien girl and the human explorer continued their journey through the stars, two outcasts who had found a home in each other. Together, they would face whatever challenges the galaxy threw their way, their bond unbreakable, their light shining brighter than any star.